Hi, I'm Sherry Scott with Springhouse Collaborative, and today we are joined here with Chuck Hiatt of Appliance Gallery. We've kind of been in the same circles for a long time, but have never officially met. So if Zoom counts, we're officially meeting here. I know he's worked with many of my clients and a lot of our Springhouse team also. So I invited him here today to talk to all of us because we had lots of questions about appliances and how the whole process works for custom homes. So we have the questions that you guys asked in the group, and I also slid in a couple questions, hot topics for me that I'm curious about. So Chuck, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Nice to be here.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and how did you get where you are now?
Okay. I actually was born in Dayton, but I was living in Denver years ago working as a consultant. And I got recruited to start an in-house finance company for a corporation that owned a large 15 or 20 appliance stores. About 3 months into the process, they said they were going to go with the third-party finance solution, and I asked where I stood, and they said, "Well, you can manage a store." So I went through their training process, and I ended up working my way through that, and ended up managing their flagship store in Denver. I had to come back to Dayton for family reasons, and I liked the appliance business, so I looked up John, who owns the Appliance Gallery, and we came to an agreement, and I've been here for 7 years now, I think.
Nice. Okay. And love Dayton compared to Denver.
Well, yeah, big culture shock. I love Denver, but there's a lot to be said for Dayton. I really like Dayton. The cost of living is much less, and really most of my friends and family are here too, so it's a big plus.
Good. Well, we're glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Do you have a specialty?
Well, Appliance Gallery, we do everything from commodity appliances all the way up to ultra luxury. Because we're kind of a boutique, one location, we do a lot of luxury because there just aren't a lot of sources for that type of material here.
I agree.
So I'd say about 65 to 70% of our business is luxury appliance. However, we still do, Whirlpool and Frigidaire and GE when their need arises. And we do have as much as we can on the floor on display for people to look at.
Mm-hmm. How often do your displays change over?
We're changing constantly. Last year, we had a huge year. We redid about almost half of the entire showroom. We rebuilt it, including new cabinetry, new appliances, upgrading to more updated model numbers. And try to get cutting edge stuff. What's trendy? We try to bring that in all the time too.
Yeah. So that was one of my first questions. Like, what's trending right now? What do people?
There's a few big trends. Some people are getting away from, especially in new builds, they're getting away from the big giant ranges like 48 and 60-inch ranges, and they're going more towards range tops with wall ovens. Range tops being you can get that 48 or 60-inch wide cooking surface, but your ovens go from being under that to on the wall. For ease of use, convenience, they don't really feel they need to have that big focal point like a giant range in the kitchen. Another trend is steam cooking. A few years ago, you never heard about it. And now almost all the luxury brands make convection steam ovens, which are really, really unique pieces. And you can do a lot of cool things with them.
And those get built into a wall, like above or below a wall oven?
Yes. A lot of people will put a regular convection oven under a convection steam oven.
So
instead of having
both?
Well, yeah, you'll have it's actually two pieces mounted on top of each other, one above the other. Some companies like Thermador actually do a combo unit where it's all one piece. You mount it one opening, but it's actually two units.
Interesting. How about colored appliances? I see that sometimes. I'm always attracted to the colored appliances as a pop and something fun.
Sure.
Are you seeing much of that?
We are. In the mid-range brands, they came out with their new cafe line last year. And so they're offering a limited number of colors with the appropriate trim, like brass trim or copper trim, things like that.
Mhm.
That's a mid-range appliance. If to get real color, you move into luxury. Viking, you can do their ranges in color.
Mm.
Blue Star, which is a luxury open burner range, you can do their ranges in ovens and custom color.
Hmm.
Um, Miele, actually, they have colors in their wall ovens, but they're all glass, like gray glass or black glass or white glass,
Okay.
and they're very trendy.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, almost any color can be had. Typically, it's going to be an upcharge for that. Plus, if it's a custom, there'll be a custom charge too.
Okay. Great. And I would assume that that is going to be, we say they're trending, and of course they're
Mhm,
trendy, which
mhm.
usually means there's a life cycle of how long that style lasts. Do people come to you
Yeah,
with those concerns?
that's true. I think though, with a custom color in a luxury range, it's more about personal preference than it is riding a trend.
Mhm.
When I consider color as trendy, I'm looking at the GE slate, where
Okay.
they're trying to create that trend by coming out with an entire line of color,
Mhm.
just as another color option.
Mhm.
When you're talking about a one-off custom color piece, I think it's more about personal preference than trend. Um,
I can
they want
see
to,
that. And design wise, it becomes more of a focal point and a
sure,
special piece rather than three or four pieces matching.
right. We
Okay.
actually did a piece a few weeks or a few months ago. It was a bright pink range with a bright pink hood. I don't think we'll ever do another one, but that's an
No,
example.
probably not, but I love that. I mean, we work with very custom clients that some of them don't care and it's stainless and let's move on
Right.
to something else. But I always like to find one something in the house that's like, that
Sure.
is all them, right?
Yep.
When their
Yep.
friends walk in, they're going to be like, yep, that's them, hot pink range.
Yeah, that's true.
I love that. Okay, so moving into some of the questions that people had asked me in the group. One person asked double ovens. Is everyone still doing double ovens? Are they useful? What's your feeling on that?
Less than in the past. It used to be everyone loved double ovens because they had the extra capacity when they needed it at Christmas, but most people find that they only use it once or twice or even 3 times a year, maybe.
Hmm.
And that's why combination units have really come into style, where
Okay.
you have a full size convection oven, and above that you put either a microwave or a speed microwave or a steam oven. There's all kinds of options you can do. So with a speed microwave over a regular oven, in a speed microwave, you can microwave in it, you can broil in it, or you can bake in it. So
Never heard of that.
yeah.
Huh.
So
Okay.
if you're cooking a turkey in your main oven and you need to cook a casserole,
Yeah.
you can use that microwave above
Mm.
on a non-microwave setting. You can actually set it to 350 and put your casserole dish in there and it'll bake.
Hmm.
But it also functions primarily as a microwave, so you don't have to have one sitting on your counter somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that sounds great.
Mhm.
Okay. Microwave over the stove. While we're talking about microwaves, I know we still struggle with where to put the microwave. Of course, the
Sure.
drawers are beautiful and I love them for our very high-end clients, but
Mhm.
not everyone can afford those. They're still pretty expensive, aren't they?
They are. They're very expensive, actually. And really, the only company that makes microwave drawers is Sharp.
Oh,
Every other brand just puts their own face on it.
oh,
So
I didn't
it
know.
doesn't matter which one you buy, it's the exact same drawer, and they can range anywhere from 1,200 to $1,600 or more, and it's the exact same drawer.
Okay.
So when people come in asking for a microwave drawer, I just advise them to buy the Sharp at the
Mm,
lowest price because it's going to be the exact same thing.
interesting. Okay.
Um, However, options though for microwave, if you don't want a microwave drawer, if you make the opening in your cabinetry under the counter, you can put just a standard countertop microwave there on a riser and put a trim kit around it that'll finish it. Um,
Oh,
and it'll still look built in, but it'll just be a push button microwave like you have on your countertop, but it'll all be seamless.
okay.
And that would be your lowest priced option.
Okay.
Typically 400 and change or $500, you can get a microwave and a trim kit that would look flush installed.
Hmm.
As far as over the range microwaves,
Yeah.
the 30-inch wide that fit in between your cabinets, they're going out of style, but they still have their place because they function as lighting, ventilation, microwave. Um, they serve their purpose for smaller kitchens at least, but they don't really do effective ventilation because they're so shallow. You don't capture anything from the front burners of your range or your cooktop.
Right.
So they're minimal efficiency at best.
Mhm.
And design wise, I think they're not very attractive.
Right.
I'd much rather have a hood up there and put a microwave somewhere else, either a drawer or the countertop microwave with a trim kit. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, good. And then when you were talking about did you call it a speed microwave? Can
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
be put? I guess
It can.
that probably couldn't be put in a base cabinet, could it?
It can because all speed microwaves have a drop down door like a regular oven.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, it's just a small unit. You can get them 24 inches wide
uh-huh.
with a drop down door. You'll have to bend over to see the controls, unlike a drawer where you can flip out a control panel,
Right.
but you can absolutely mount those under counter.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay. That might be a good idea for,
Sure.
a more, what do you call, more cost conscious decision, right? I mean,
Well,
even for myself, I'm thinking that,
the speed ovens are actually more expensive than drawers. They're going to range anywhere from $14.99 up to $2,100.
because they're a microwave and an oven.
And an oven. Yeah, they're kind of a combination unit, and there's a lot of technology packed into a little space. So they can be pricey.
Could it ever be your main oven? That speed microwave?
Um, no, because the cavity in a speed oven is small like a microwave.
Okay,
You can't have a large cavity and have all that technology in there.
gotcha.
But one thing I did forget, you could do a drop down door microwave under counter that's not a speed microwave, just a regular microwave with a drop down door.
Okay,
That's another option.
okay, cool. Um, one of the questions was, oh, the refrigerators with side by side doors, are they
Mhm.
staying around forever? And this one person was frustrated because you have to open both doors to open the crisper, right? On a regular French door refrigerator.
On a French door with a bottom freezer,
Mhm.
yes, you have to open both doors to open because there's a full width
Right,
drawer in there. You do
right.
have to open both,
Yeah.
correct? But since it's all the same cavity,
Mhm.
it doesn't make any sense to make just narrow drawers that you would pull
Yeah,
out by opening one door.
I agree.
Uh, Design wise, it wouldn't make sense to have smaller, narrower drawers when you have one big cavity.
Mm, that makes
If that
sense.
makes sense.
So are those, it seems like that style is here to stay. Like people really like that.
Yeah,
The wider,
French door sales make up probably 80% of our freestanding refrigerator sales.
Mm,
They're probably only 15% though of built-in. Built-in meaning the 84-inch tall, heavy-duty counter depth models like Sub-Zero and Thermador and Viking.
okay. And is that
They
what
have
we would call towers? Like you get a tower of just a refrigerator and a separate one of
yeah.
just a freezer
Now those are integrated columns,
column.
but some companies still make single unit refrigerator freezers that are 42 and 48 inches wide.
I see.
You can get the 42-inch units in a French door,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can they can be custom panel flush installed, but they make up a very small percentage of built-in integrated columns or like Sub-Zero sales, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So with
most French doors will be freestanding units. Yeah.
most French doors are freestanding units, which is like the regular 36 inches wide that slide
Correct.
into a hole, right?
That's correct. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Good. Um, so on appliances, somebody was asking me about the controls because, for a while, and I think they're still pretty popular, are the big controls that are supposed to feel really kind of heavy duty and commercial. But they were saying that a lot of them don't feel super heavy duty. Do you know a better brand, or how are controls going these days?
As far as knobs and user interface type stuff,
Mm.
most of the commodity brands have gone to like a chrome coated plastic. When you look at a Whirlpool or a GE or Frigidaire base models, rarely do they have metal knobs.
Okay.
And over time, they're just not going to hold up. You'll end up ordering new knobs or something. Once you get into the mid-range brands like KitchenAid or Bosch, let's say, you'll start seeing metal knobs show up. They're known to be more durable. The mid-range brands will perform much better than the entry-level brands. And then in luxury, they're all going to be metal. You get into the Fisher and Paykel, Thermador, Sub-Zero Wolf, Viking. Everything's built to last, much, much heavier duty. As far as getting away from plastic controls, they'll always be there in the less expensive brands because that's how they can stay at those price points. They
Okay.
take out cost wherever they can,
Mhm.
and they'll continue to do that. There's just no getting around it.
And you can replace those knobs?
You can.
Okay.
Actually, here in Dayton, there's a company called Dayton Appliance Parts.
Mhm.
You can order any part for any appliance you can think of.
Oh, interesting.
So if you have a knob that breaks,
Yeah.
you can try to go onto the manufacturer's website. Some of them actually will allow you to purchase parts directly.
Mhm.
But if not, you can call Dayton Appliance Parts and give them the model and serial number. They'll send you an exact replacement.
Nice. Okay. Okay. So it sounds like you rep a lot of different brands. So your um, appliance gallery, do you have a gallery of all different brands out, or do you just show models of certain ones? And do you have a favorite brand?
I do. In our showroom, though, we have our showroom separated into three different rooms per se. We have a mid-range room that has Bosch, KitchenAid, LG, and some GE, along with some hoods and some cooktops and things like that. And then we have the next room is a luxury room that has Sub-Zero Wolf, Thermador, Blue Star, True refrigeration, Liebherr refrigeration. And we have a laundry room with freestanding refrigerators. And then in our front room, we have Viking, we have Fisher and Paykel, which is a New Zealand company, a great New Zealand company. And then we have a whole room just for outdoor kitchens. We sell a lot of luxury outdoor kitchen brands, and we've got them set up, in about an 800 square foot area. So people can come and browse and dream about how they want to build their outdoor space. But short answer is the only two brands we won't sell or we don't have access to are Samsung. We don't believe the quality is there.
Okay.
There's an incredibly high incidence of service requirement for that brand, and a lot of parts aren't available. So we dropped the line about 3 years ago.
Okay.
We also won't sell Electrolux. Electrolux owns Frigidaire. We still will sell Frigidaire, but we just think the quality is lacking. So we stopped carrying that line as well.
Okay.
Other than that, we have access to pretty much anything. We carry a few Italian brands too, like Fulgor Milano, Ilve, and the Italian brands a little more high design on the way that the ranges look and things like that, but they're notoriously underpowered on the cooking surface. The BTU ratings are usually lower, but they're beautiful pieces, and usually you can get them in any color you want. So.
Okay. Okay. So what homework should people do, particularly with brands? Is there any homework people should do before they would come in and see you?
Yes. First, make an accurate list of what you really want. So decide if you want a range or a cooktop and wall ovens. Decide if you want freestanding refrigeration in counter depth or full depth. once you know that, it's a real simple process to narrow things down and arrive at a brand. And what I do when people come in is I just ask open-ended questions. What kind of cooking do you do? Do you do any high heat cooking or wok cooking or ethnic cooking that generates a lot of airborne solids in your kitchen? Because
Mhm.
that'll help me identify what kind of ventilation they're going to require.
Right.
But really, the first thing they should do is really sit down and think about what they want and what kind of cooking they're going to do.
Mhm.
And then it's what's your budget? I mean, you really do kind of get what you pay for in appliances. There are packages out there that will meet everybody's budget from, a couple $1,000s up to $50,000.
Yeah.
And I need to know where you're going to draw that line so that I can identify what's going to meet your needs at the best price.
Okay.
So the best thing to do is just think about how you want your kitchen to look, the type of appliances you want. Forget about brand in the beginning.
Okay.
Uh, and then just come in here or wherever you're going to go, come in with a list and a pretty good idea of where your line is as far as budget.
Okay. And I guess that budget number could really come from a number of different places, right? Like for our clients, we will give them some kind of, if we're building for them, we give them an actual budget allowance that's in the contract.
Yeah.
If it's a design client where we're not building it, but we're designing it, we will give them kind of a rule of thumb, which traditionally for us, it goes with the price of the house. Of course, we're about historically about 2 to 3% of the entire construction budget is appliances. And it just depends on the client, whether if their kitchen is basically just going to sit there because you have to have a kitchen in a house, but they eat out all the time, then you can be 1.8%,
Sure.
something like that. But other people, it's, they might have 2 kitchens and a bar downstairs that they want appliances in. So they're going to get up, to 5% or something like that.
Right.
Does that rule of thumb sound in the right range? Have you ever worked through that?
Yeah, actually, I actually worked with probably 12 production builders and custom builders, and 3%, 2.5 to 3.5 is usually where they fall on all of their allowances. 3%. If anybody asks me, I always say 3% is a good rule of thumb.
Okay.
Anything above that is the client's responsibility to make the decision to go above their allowance level. Maybe they have a bar that they want to put some really good under counter refrigeration that's going to be outside the scope of their normal allowance, and they would just take care of that.
Yeah.
As far as budgeting goes, once they get here or wherever they're going, make sure that whoever they're working with talks about whatever available incentives there are, because that's going to affect the bottom line. If you have a $15,000 budget and with the current available incentives in one brand, I can get that down to 12 versus 15, you may have more room to buy that refrigerator for your basement or whatever. So my job would
be the incentives, because I know a lot of times our clients, there's always a deadline when it ends, but then it comes back right away sometimes. And how do you feel about the incentives? Is it kind of a game you have to just play, like with Kohl's? You don't go to Kohl's unless you have a coupon. So is that true about appliances too?
No.
That's crazy.
No. Typically, the way they work is we at least 1 to 2 quarters in advance, they're going to give us advance notification of what incentives are coming down the pike. So we will start talking about those before the actual start date of those appliances.
Okay.
And then within that period of time, we will be talking about all available incentives for all available brands that are currently at the time. If it's a new build, however, when the appliances are delivered versus when they're ordered, there could be a change in incentive. So what we encourage people to do, a perfect example is Wolf Sub-Zero. They're having a price increase this April the 1st.
Okay, and you know that already. Good.
Yeah. So just this morning, I met with a builder and their client, and they're breaking ground in April. They're going to be done in November, December, let's say. And they want to get their Wolf Sub-Zero appliances on the old price. So they're putting their deposit down before the 1st of March.
Okay.
We have to have them shipped from Sub-Zero to us before April 1st, though.
Okay.
They have to be released. We're going to hold them here in our warehouse for them until November, December. That's no problem. We do that we probably have 50 houses full of appliances sitting here waiting for completion so that we can deliver.
That's a great perk, and not everyone does that. I know that's been a hassle for us in the past, where they wouldn't hold them, and then we had to find somewhere to store these appliances, and then you're paying for that, and
sure,
kind of a mess. So that's a great perk.
Now there is a sidebar to that, though. New builds can be difficult because, as a builder, you have releases from your customers.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're going to hold appliances for 9 months, they're going to have to be paid for.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of builders only like to pay for appliances on closing, on closing. So we have to negotiate that in advance. Different builders work different ways.
Yeah.
And we're happy to work with anybody any way they need us to.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain things that we have to have too. I couldn't float 20 new builds,
right,
each having $25,000 worth of appliances waiting for closings.
Yeah, then you're becoming a bank, and
That's right.
That's not your business. Yeah,
Right.
I agree. It is. It's tough sometimes because of the draw process with the bank, when you can get funded for those things. And a lot of things need to be prepaid these days. So it has a lot to do with how the building company is funded, and how much they can float, and how much the client can float. And yeah, that's a big balancing act, which
it is.
I think a lot of this is good to talk about, because I think that's something that is a surprise with people in a custom home build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we may have covered everything, but is there anything that people should be asking you but don't?
Make sure, if you're going to get a fringe brand, like an import brand, something you've seen online, that there's an established service network for that brand. Too many times people buy a really trendy product and something goes wrong with it and they can't find anybody to service it. So always ask about that. If I buy this brand, who will work on it if it breaks?
Okay.
Because there are some manufacturers that don't have a well-established service network.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have to pull someone from Indianapolis or Chicago to come down here and fix it. And they're not likely to do that unless you pay for it, even if it is under warranty.
Yeah.
We don't currently have any brands that do that. All of our brands have a service network established, but I've recently had some folks get stuck. So.
Yeah. Service is very important. I would think that so at Appliance Gallery, do you guys service, or do you help in that? How does service work in relation to where you buy it from?
Every brand has their own authorized service people in every metropolitan area by contract.
Mm-hmm.
So I know every service company here locally that handles every brand, and they're not all the same. So for instance, Sub-Zero, Wolf, and Thermador and Bosch are all handled by Beaver Creek Appliance Service. KitchenAid is by authorized service. LG is by A1 Appliance, and they just and I direct people there. And then if they get roadblocked, I can advocate for them because I can call my rep and get them involved.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to. It rarely happens. Typically, people get handled pretty well. Short answer, though, is we don't do service here.
Okay.
Because if we did, we would have to have all those contracts, and it's just too much to handle.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because people do often ask us if, as the builder, do we service, like if their dishwasher breaks, as the builder, we're not servicing a dishwasher, the brand
Right.
would service that. They hold the warranty, right? We would be responsible, obviously, for how it's installed and the work that we do with it, but not
Mhm.
the actual appliance. So it sounds like it's similar for you.
It is, yeah. I do have one more thing that I wanted to bring up, and that's ventilation. Too little thought goes into ventilation.
Good. Okay.
Um, if you're going to have a big range, a 36, 48, or 60-inch range, it's always better if it's on an outside wall, so you can vent straight out.
Okay.
Or if it's in a ranch, you can go straight up.
Okay.
If you have bedrooms above and you're on an inside wall and you've got a 48-inch range that generates a lot of BTUs, it can be a problem trying to get effective ventilation because you're going to go up and try to run it through the floor joist to the outside wall. And a lot of times there's a lot of every 90-degree turn you put in, you're going to lose about 18 to 20% of your airflow.
Okay.
So in the design process, or even customers that are thinking about their home, if they're having big, massive appliances, I would always put it on an outside wall.
Okay. Good.
Because if you're generating that much heat, um, you need to have really good ventilation. Otherwise, every 6 months, you're going to be wiping down your cabinets from the grease. It's just
Mhm.
not going to work effectively.
Interesting. And I know there are different speeds of motors.
Mhm.
What do you recommend with that?
Yeah, well, typically, if you're going to do anything 36 inches and below, um, they'll come usually with a 600 CFM blower, which is plenty for that.
Okay.
Even if it's not on an outside wall, they'll do an internal blower, which is inside the hood, 600 CFM, it'll blow it all the way out. If you're doing 36 to 48 and there are inline blowers that you can put anywhere in the duct run. So you could run your duct into the attic, mount a blower there, and
Right.
from that go outside, or you could do it in your basement. And that'll reduce the noise in your kitchen a little bit, but about 90% of the noise from ventilation is from airflow across the filters. So moving the blower doesn't really reduce that much.
Okay.
And then the most powerful blowers uh, are external blowers that are mounted in housings that go either on your roof or on the side of your house, and they will pull everything through.
Uh-huh.
If you're doing a 48-inch range and up, you want a minimum 1,000 CFM. And they have internal, inline, and external in that size. If you're doing a giant 60-inch range,
Yeah, that's
I would probably do an external at a 12 or 1,300 CFM with a big 10 to 12-inch duct. A 600 CFM, you can run through a 6-inch round duct.
okay.
900 or 1,000, you're going to do a 10-inch. Once you get up to 12 or 13, you're going to want a 12-inch duct.
Mhm. And that takes room too.
It does, yeah. And too many people don't think about ventilation until everything's done and they go, okay, how are we going to vent this?
Yeah,
So it has to be part of the planning process.
great. At what point do we have to worry about it pulling too much conditioned air out of a tight house?
That's a great question. Right now in Columbus, it's code that anything over 400 CFM, you need to install what's called a makeup air system,
Mhm.
which means every cubic foot of air that you pull out of your hood, you have to bring into your house. And it's fairly simple process. There's a module you can buy that would install, let's say in your basement next to your furnace, that would be mounted to an outside hole and tied into your cold air return.
Okay.
And it would be wired to your hood so that when you turn that on, that flap would open and air would come in the house
Okay.
through the cold air return. So it would be heated. You're
Uh-huh.
not going to be just drawing straight cold air into your house.
Right.
If you get up to 1,000 or 1,200 CFM and you don't have makeup air,
Mhm.
you can create a dangerous situation because it'll pull from your chimney, it'll pull from your plumbing vents.
Oh, that's
You
bad.
can get gases pulled into your
Yes.
house.
Yeah.
So right now in Dayton area, it's not code to do makeup air. But I always recommend if you're doing 1,000 CFM or above, I would do it anyway.
So is that who does that? Is that the HVAC contractor?
That's the HVAC guy. We can provide the module. And then when they're installing the HVAC, they would just include that in their build.
Okay. So when our clients come to you and we get a 1,200 CFM fan hood,
Mhm.
ventilation system, then you would recommend, hey, get this, and we would buy that additional piece at the same time and then have the HVAC guy install it.
Yes, and really what it is, it's only about a 20-inch long piece of duct with um, a vent and an actuator in there and
Uh-huh.
a bus where you can put a wire. And
Okay.
it's only a few $100s.
Okay. Such a
You
simple
give that to the
solution.
HVAC guys, obviously they will attach whatever duct they need and they will wire it to the hood.
Mhm.
It's really not expensive to do.
Mhm.
There are some very expensive ones though that actually have their own heat source and they'll preheat the air.
Uh-huh.
I've never actually sold one of those, but they are available and they're,
Okay.
I think, prohibitively expensive.
Okay. Okay. Good information. I love all the technical stuff. So thanks for walking me through that.
Oh, sure.
So Chuck, where can people find you?
We're in Moraine, actually, on West Dorothy Lane. We're at 2601 West Dorothy Lane. We've been in the same location for 28 years. John, our current owner, has owned it for 14 years now. And I've been here going into my 8th year. And we'd be happy to have you. Our hours are 10 to 5 Monday through Friday, or 10 to 2 on Saturday.
Okay.
And you can always schedule appointments after business hours at any time just by giving us a call. We'll stay open for you, or we'll come in and open just for you, and you'll have our undivided attention anytime.
Nice. So people to reach out to you, it's a phone call. Do you do it? You have any online presence?
We do. ApplianceGalleryDayton.com. We have actually a tremendous site. It's probably got 300,000 products on there.
Oh, nice.
Including all the luxury lines.
Okay.
We have newsletters that go out every month. We do cooking demos. You name it, we do it. We try.
Good, good. That sounds like great service. Okay, well, thank you for being with me. I've really enjoyed this and I've learned a lot. I know people were asking me questions and I basically said, I don't know the answers to these things. Like, I'm not on that side of it very often. We do more technical and things like that. And we trust you to take our clients through that whole process. So thank you.
Well, any questions anybody has are welcome to call. I'd be happy to answer any question.
Great, I appreciate that. So I'll tell you, as I tell my group every week, that we're trying to build this community where people, not only me, but other people can answer questions that are posted in the group. So Chuck, if you know anybody that might be interested, that's considering a new home or in the process of building a new home, please invite them to this group. It's totally free. Just a Facebook group called Spring House Collaborative.
Okay.
And we'd love to have them, and we'd love to have you in the group if you'd like to join us.
That would be great. I will.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll be
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. It's been a pleasure.